So our next speaker is Chase Weber, who is a graduate of USU. He studied statistics while he was here. He was involved on the Government Relations Council, so sounds like he worked both sides of his brain, like the number side and more the CHAS side. He now works as a data scientist for Chubb, which is the largest publicly traded property insurance company. I mostly like how it has a really cool name for such a successful business. He works as a data scientist for this company. He collects and cleans and puts together the data and then formalizes that into predictive models for insurance. And so this is a really cool thing. And for me, this is way outside of my wheelhouse. So I'm excited to hear what Chase has to say and kind of learn about this new world of insurance and data science, another cool combination of skills. So I'll turn it over to you, Chase. Thank you so much for being here.
Hi, thank you for having me. I'm excited to just take a minute and talk about myself and my experience at Utah State. So like it was said, yes, I work for Chubb Insurance as a data scientist. I have been working with that company for 2 years now. Just a little bit about myself. I am originally from Rexburg, Idaho. I graduated from Utah State with a degree in statistics and economics in 2018. And yeah, so I'm working for an insurance company. So I wanted to just go over a little bit about high level what insurance companies do, what we do specifically at Chubb, and then what I specifically do in my job. So just as at like a high level, talking about insurance, I'm sure most of you are familiar with things such as car insurance or homeowners insurance, which are both things that we do. But there are also, one of the fun things that I learned while working at Chubb was that there are several other types of insurance, including things such as, some of the things that I found very interesting were that there are insurance for celebrities, especially singers. They will insure their voices so that if something happens, they have a source of income that still comes in. Zoos will insure their animals in case anything happens to them. And at the company I work for, Chubb Insurance, we actually have a specific department for yacht insurance, which I thought was really interesting. And so it kind of makes the industry fun when you start to think about how you can be innovative, what types of products you can offer. And that's one of the things that I have found to really enjoy about the insurance industry. So like was said, with insurance, the basic idea is that it is risk management. We essentially pay, customers will pay us a premium, usually a yearly amount, and we in turn promise to pay them given an unexpected negative circumstance. And so that's the basic idea. And specifically at Chubb Insurance, what we do is we specialize and we cater to high net worth individuals, and we also cater to companies. And we do this around the world. There are several different types of insurance. We do property and casualty, which essentially covers things such as your property and things that you own, things like housing and buildings. We have accident and health, which is things like health insurance that you'll have, and life insurance in case of unexpected death and things of that sort. And within that, our company is organized into several different regions. So as a global company, we have a North American unit, we have a European, an Asian, and Latin American unit. And within each of those regions, we have departments for the type of insurance provided. For me specifically, as a data scientist, I'm working under a predictive modeling unit, and I deal specifically with casualty insurance in the United Kingdom and Europe. And so as a data scientist, what I do is I collect data, usually collect data from current and prior customers. And this will be things such as the location. At least for what I work in personally, it's usually companies. So out of the United Kingdom and Europe, I'll collect information about where these companies are located, how big are these companies, how many employees do they have, how much money do they make in a year, and then if they are prior customers, we'll look at how often they have claimed, have submitted claims in the past. And we'll gather that data, clean it all up, which takes a lot of, which I would say is a majority of the time, is cleaning up that data and putting it together so that it's understandable. And then using statistics and modeling techniques to make predictions. So this would be things such as, given a company's location, how big it is, how much money they make, we can expect them to be costing us this much money, or we can expect them to submit this many claims in a year. So the main things that we, on my team, that we work on predicting are the frequency. So that's how often we can expect a customer to submit a claim, how severe it would be. So given that they submit a claim, how much money do we think we'll have to pay them? And then we can also create scoring techniques. So this is helpful so that in the future, we know, given a certain company, and if they meet certain criteria, we know how risky they are. And we can decide if we want to take on that risk, and if so, how much we should charge them in order to be profitable. So overall, that's essentially a high view of what I do in my job. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about how I got to this point. And I think there are two main things. The first thing is coursework, which I think when talking about coursework, it's important to be involved in the right type of courses. If this is a career that you would be interested in and working with data, it is very number heavy. You should be taking classes like statistics, and specifically in economics, there are courses such as econometrics, and math and economics are some really useful courses. And then also another big thing, and this is something I wish I would have done more in my undergraduate, was learning how to code, which is a huge tool in the industry right now, especially if you learn to code in Python. That's something that I was lucky to be able to learn on the job, but it would have been really helpful had I known it before. The other thing that I think is very important is networking. And just remember that, at least for me, I didn't know, essentially you don't know where your job is going to come from or who has connections. So it's important that you establish a network. You reach out and you talk to people, you talk to the people in your classes, you reach out to your professors, and you try to build that network while you are in undergrad, because that's very useful. And I would say that's a huge piece of finding a career, is who you know and knowing the right people, and then having the skills to back that up. And along with that, just additional advice along with that is to not stress too much about it. I feel like I spent a lot of my undergraduate career stressing about where I'm going to get a job. I didn't know where I was going to work. I didn't know where I was going to get an internship. And to a certain degree, it is important to put an emphasis on that, and to, apply yourself and try to do the work to get a job and get an internship. But don't worry too much about it, and know that things will work out. And then also just be open. If I'm being honest, the insurance industry was not at the top of my list. Graduating with statistics, I thought it would be so cool to go work for a company like Spotify or Hulu or something like that, and kind of work on the data that goes into all of that. But I was open to going into insurance, and I found a passion within the insurance industry that I enjoy. It's an industry that is innovative. It allows me to continually learn on the job, which is one of my passions. And I think just being open to that is really important. And so, yeah, I would say find your passion within your what you're studying, and then find a job that can help support that. And I feel like, yeah, that's essentially an overview of what I do for work and how I got to where I am. And so I'm open to any questions that you have. And also, yeah, feel free to reach out on my contact information that was dropped. But yeah, any questions?
What is the coolest project you feel you've worked on in insurance? Because you talked about the yachts, you've talked about life insurance. What is the project that you felt like that you've just liked the most? And then what has been the most critical to your career so far?
So I think one of the most interesting things is, at least for the projects that I've personally worked on, I've worked with companies out of Europe. And one of the interesting things is we're working with new data, looking into essentially pulling data from Google. So we would create a coding system in Python that would go into Google and pull information about a company, such as what the company's ratings are on Google, or on their Google ratings, and then being able to see how that plays into their claims and frequency information. It was interesting to see from a data standpoint, especially since usually we don't have access to that data. So I guess looking for new ways to get data has been the most exciting thing to me. And I feel like the most critical part of the job, is that what your other question was?
Yeah, sorry, most critical part of the job, or the most critical project that you've done to your career that you feel has helped you grow the most?
I guess most critical part of the job, I would say, is just being open to innovation. So at least on my team, when I first got hired, we were working in SAS, which is a coding program, and just being open to, we shifted gears from working in SAS to Python. So we had to spend a lot of time converting all of our code and learning how to code in a new language. And just being willing to learn how to do that and do the research, I feel is a very critical part, especially in industries in tech and dealing with data, because that's an ever-changing industry right now.
Thank you so much for answering my questions. I appreciate that, Chase.
No problem.
And we had one more quick question from the chat. So you said that you learned Python through your work, but are you aware of other resources that students can use to learn Python?
Yes. Well, if I'm being honest, I feel like a lot of it is Googling. A lot of my day-to-day, especially when I was learning Python, there were courses I took on Coursera when I had free time, which is just a platform online that teaches coding. But honestly, a lot of it was pulling up a Python sheet and Googling what I wanted to do and figuring it out from there. And to this day, I still, if there's something I have to do in Python or something I need to do with the data, I'll Google it and I'll look through the list of sites that pop up until I find an answer.
Yeah, that makes sense. It seems like Googling is a very important life skill at this point. I thank you so much, Chase, for all you learned. Like I mentioned before, I didn't really know very much about insurance, so now I feel like I have a much better grasp, and hopefully the rest of the students feel the same way. Thank you so much for sharing your experience.
Yes.
Maddie, real quick, we've got one hand, it looks like. Andrew?
Let's take that hand.
Hi. Sorry, my camera's not working right now. But I'm a senior economics major, and I've been this past year been looking at different job openings and things like that, and I've seen that, coding and Python have seemed to be a big theme of what employers are looking for right now. So I've been kind of trying to rush to learn as much coding as possible, like R and Python and things like that. But I was just wondering, it feels like we're not, a lot of the economics classes don't put too much emphasis on coding, so you got to kind of do some outside things. Is there a lot of positions that entry-level positions that will help you develop those skills more and more, or should we be putting more emphasis on that outside of finding an entry-level position that will help us develop those skills?
That is a good question. I honestly feel like I would say if you have a basic level and you are willing to learn, that should be good enough, because a lot of it, I feel like you will learn on the job. But I don't want to say like stop trying to learn Python and just stick where you are. I would say obviously keep working on it, but I feel like most positions, at least entry level, would be more open to just you having a basic knowledge of how to code in Python, and then being willing to learn from there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you, Chase.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Chase, for answering those questions. And if anybody has more questions, his contact information is in the chat there.